The huge meeting hall on Nexus Prime was full of worried voices. Alien beings from across the galaxy sat in their special seats, all talking at once. The air was thick with tension as Ambassador Kethfor from the Zephyrian Empire stood up. His tall, blue-skinned body cast a long shadow across the room. "Fellow council members," Kethfor said, his voice cutting through the noise, "we have a serious problem. The humans have vanished." A wave of shocked silence spread across the room. The crystalline beings from the Helix Collective made soft chiming sounds of confusion. The insect-like Montari clicked their mandibles nervously. Even the floating gas creatures from the nebula world stopped their constant humming. "What do you mean, vanished?" asked Counselor Vexena, her tentacles writhing with worry. "Humans don't just disappear. They're everywhere." Kethfor activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy. Normally, thousands of small dots would show human ships moving along trade routes. Now the display was almost empty. Only a few tiny lights blinked where human vessels should be. 3 months ago, we had regular contact with over 2,000 human ships, Kethfor explained. Today, we can only find 47. Their entire military fleet is gone. Their trade ships have stopped arriving at stations. Their colonies are sending distress calls asking where their supply ships are. Dr. Lisa Grant sat in her small command chair aboard the research vessel Pioneer, listening to the broadcast from Nexus Prime. Her hands shook as she gripped the armrests. She was supposed to be studying distant stars, not dealing with the possible end of human space travel. "Ma'am," said Lieutenant Pete Jackson, her communications officer, "we're getting messages from human colonies all over this sector. They're all asking the same thing. Where is the fleet?" Lisa looked around her tiny bridge. 12 people. That was all she had. 12 scientists and engineers who signed up to study space rocks and measure star temperatures. Now they might be the last free humans in the galaxy. The last message from Admiral Jake Morrison had been boring and normal. His massive battle fleet was patrolling the Kepler 442 system, checking for pirates and making sure the trade routes were safe. Morrison was a good commander, careful and smart. He would never take his ships somewhere dangerous without telling anyone. "Scan long-range communications," Lisa ordered. "Look for any human military signals." Her crew worked at their stations, fingers flying over control panels. The minutes stretched on. Finally, Dr. Ben Parker, her science officer, looked up with a grim expression. "Nothing, Commander. No military frequencies, no emergency beacons, no fleet coordination signals. It's like they all just turned off their radios at the same time." Back on Nexus Prime, the Alien Council was getting more worried by the minute. The Zephyrians had fought wars with humans when they first met them 20 years ago. The humans were new to space travel, but they were clever fighters. They used tricks and tactics that no one expected. Eventually, both sides made peace, and the Zephyrians learned to respect human intelligence. "The humans are not a species that hides," said Elder Zexamore of the Helix Collective. His crystal body flickered with worried colors. "They announce themselves wherever they go. They make noise. They ask questions. This silence is not natural for them." The Montari representative, Queen Hixara, made rapid clicking sounds. Through her translator, she said, "Our hive ships have searched 17 systems where humans were. Last seen, we found their space stations empty but undamaged. Food was still on tables. Computers were still running. It's like the humans just walked away in the middle of their daily work." Lisa Grant's ship was 3 days away from the Kepler 442 system. She had decided to investigate the last known location of Admiral Morrison's fleet. Her crew was nervous, but determined. They were scientists, not soldiers, but they were still human. They needed to know what happened to their people. "Commander," called out Jenny Walsh from the sensor station, I'm picking up something strange in subspace. It's very faint, but it doesn't match any known ship signature. Can you identify it? No, ma'am. It's like an echo of something that was there, but isn't anymore. I've never seen readings like this. The Pioneer dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. The red dwarf star looked normal, casting weak light. On 3 dead planets. The asteroid belt where Admiral Morrison's ships had been mining showed no signs of battle or destruction. Full sensor sweep, Lisa ordered. Look for debris, energy residue, anything that might tell us what happened here. Her crew worked for hours, scanning every asteroid and checking every frequency. They found mining equipment that had been abandoned. Mid-operation. They found automatic beacons still broadcasting routine status reports. But they found no trace of the 300 ships that had been here just months before. The mystery was spreading fear throughout the galaxy. Species that had never cared much about humans were suddenly worried. If an entire space fleet could vanish without a trace, what did that mean for everyone else? What kind of enemy could make ships disappear so completely? On the distant world of Arcturus Station, Captain Roy Davis was working his way back from a long mining trip when he heard the news. His ship, the Prospector, had been out of communication for 6 months while he collected rare minerals from asteroids near the galactic rim. His communication array had been damaged in an accident, leaving him alone with just his small crew. "Captain," said his navigator, Sam Torres, "are you seeing these broadcasts? They're saying our entire fleet is gone." Roy stared at the news reports streaming across his screen. Ships he knew, commanders he had served with, entire battle groups that had been the pride of Earth's Space Force. All gone. Get me a communication. "Link to Earth Command," he ordered. "Sir, I've been trying for the past hour. No response from Earth Command, Mars Naval Base, or Luna Control. The only human signals I can find are from colony worlds asking where their supply ships are." Lisa Grant's investigation of the Kepler 442 system was turning up more questions than answers. The human fleet had been here, had been working normally, and then had simply ceased to exist. No signs of weapons fire, no evidence of ships being destroyed or captured. They had just vanished. "Commander," Dr. Parker called from his station, "I think you need to see this. I've been analyzing the quantum signatures in this area. There are traces of something that shouldn't exist." Lisa walked over to look at his readings. The data showed patterns in space-time that made no sense with current technology. "What am I looking at, Ben?" "I'm not sure. It's like something punched a hole in normal space and then sealed it up again. But the energy levels required would be beyond anything any known species could produce." As news of the human fleet's disappearance spread, the galaxy began to change. Trade routes that had relied on human merchant ships ground to a halt. Defense pacts that included human military support became worthless pieces of paper. The balance of power that had kept peace between species for decades was suddenly thrown into chaos. Lisa Grant realized that her small research ship and its crew of 12 might be among the last humans with any real freedom of movement in space. The weight of that responsibility was crushing. Whatever had happened to Admiral Morrison and the Earth fleet, she and the few other surviving human ships were now the only voice their species had in galactic affairs. The silence where human voices should be was deafening. And in that silence, something vast and ancient was beginning to stir. Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, staring at the empty space where Admiral Morrison's fleet should have been. Her science team had been scanning the Kepler 442 system for 2 days straight. Every sensor sweep came back with the same. Result, nothing. No wreckage, no energy traces, no clues about what had happened to 300 human warships. "Commander," said Dr. Ben Parker, looking up from his station with tired eyes. "I've run every test I can think of. The quantum resonance patterns show that ships were definitely here 3 months ago. But then the signatures just stop, like someone turned off a switch." Jenny Walsh adjusted her communications equipment and shook her head. "I'm not picking up any distress beacons, no emergency transmissions, nothing. It's like they all went silent at exactly the same moment." Lisa walked to the main viewing screen and looked out at the red dwarf star. The dying sun cast weak orange light across the system, making everything look old and forgotten. 3 barren planets orbited the star, along with an asteroid belt rich in the rare metals that human miners had been collecting here. "What about the mining equipment?" she asked. "Still there," replied Sam Torres from the navigation station. "Automated diggers are still working on Asteroid Station 7. The computers show they've been running non-stop since the fleet disappeared. It's like the miners just walked away in the middle of their shift." Across the galaxy, other species were conducting their own searches. The Zephyrian Empire had sent 3 of their most powerful battlecruisers to investigate human territory. The sleek, blue-hulled ships moved through system after system, their advanced sensors probing every corner of space where humans had been active. Admiral Kethmer, commanding the Zephyrian search fleet, reported his findings to the home world. "We have searched 47 systems where human military presence was confirmed. All installations are intact but empty. Personal belongings remain in place. Food stores are fully stocked. Maintenance logs show normal operations up until the day they vanished." The crystalline beings of the Helix Collective were even more thorough in their investigation. Their ships could analyze the quantum structure of space itself, looking for disruptions that other sensors might miss. Elder Zexamore personally led a survey team to the Sol system, hoping to find clues near Earth itself. "The patterns are disturbing," Zexamore reported to the collective mind. "Every human military vessel, station, and outpost beyond the Sol system shows the same quantum signature at the moment of disappearance. Something with incredible power acted simultaneously across thousands of light years." Meanwhile, Captain Roy Davis was trying to piece together what had happened while he was away on his mining mission. His ship, the Prospector, had returned from a 6-month expedition to find the galaxy completely changed. His small crew of 4 was struggling to understand how their entire civilization could vanish. "Captain," said his engineer, Mike Chun, "I've been monitoring the alien news broadcasts. They're saying the human colonies are still there, but they're cut off. No supply ships, no military protection, nothing." Roy studied the star charts on his screen. Red markers showed where human colonies should be receiving regular supply runs. All of those routes were now empty. "How many people are we talking?" According to the last census data I have, about 15 million humans living on colony worlds. They're all asking the same question. Where is everybody? Dr. Amy Rodriguez was working alone on a dig site in the Vega system when she heard about the disappearance. As a Zen archaeologist, she spent most of her time studying the ruins of ancient civilizations. Her small research ship, the Explorer, had been her home for 3 years as she investigated dead worlds and forgotten cultures. The ruins she was studying belonged to a species that had vanished millions of years ago. She had been translating their hieroglyphs when the news about the human fleet reached her. Something about the alien writing suddenly seemed familiar in a disturbing way. "Computer, translate this symbol group again," she said, pointing to a series of marks carved into a stone wall. The computer's voice was calm and mechanical. Translation: "The great silence came for us as it came for those before. The chosen ones were taken to the next realm, while the watchers remained behind." Amy felt a chill run down her spine. She had been studying these ruins for months, thinking they were just ancient mythology. Now the words seemed to describe exactly what had happened to humanity. She quickly pulled up other translation files from different dig sites. The same theme appeared over and over in various ancient languages. Advanced civilizations that suddenly vanished, leaving behind only empty cities and mysterious references to being chosen or taken to the next realm. Back in human space, the search efforts were becoming more desperate. Lisa Grant had expanded her investigation to include nearby systems where human ships had been reported missing over the past year. The pattern was always the same: normal operations followed by sudden, complete disappearance. "Commander," Dr. Parker called excitedly from his station. "I think I found something. Remember those quantum signatures I detected? I've been comparing them to theoretical models in our physics database." Lisa hurried over to look at his screen. Complex mathematical equations filled the display, showing energy patterns that looked impossible. "What am I looking at?" "These readings match theoretical predictions for dimensional phasing technology. It's something we've talked about in physics journals, but never been able to build. The energy requirements would be enormous." Jenny Walsh suddenly straightened up at her communications post. "Commander, I'm receiving a message from Captain Helen Brooks. Her ship is in the Tau Ceti system." Lisa felt a wave of relief. Captain Brooks commanded the diplomatic vessel Friendship, which had been on a mission to the Tau Ceti colonies when the fleet disappeared. Another human ship meant they weren't completely alone. Put her through. Captain Brooks appeared on the main screen. She was a middle-aged woman with short gray hair and worried eyes. "Lisa, thank God you're still out there. I've been trying to contact Earth Command for weeks with no response." "Helen, what's your status? Are you and your crew safe?" "We're fine, but the situation here is strange. The Tau Ceti colonies aren't just surviving without supply ships. They're thriving. Food production is up 30%. Their technology centers are making advances I've never seen before. It's like losing contact with Earth made them work harder and smarter." Lisa frowned. "That doesn't make sense. These colonies depend on Earth for critical supplies and equipment." "That's what I thought too. But when I talked to the colonial administrators, they said the strangest thing. They told me they felt like they had been freed to grow when the fleet disappeared. Their exact words." The conversation was interrupted when Jenny Walsh detected another signal. "Commander, I'm picking up a transmission from Dr. Rodriguez in the Vega system. She says she has important information about ancient civilizations. Within hours, Lisa had established a communication network linking the few remaining human ships scattered across the galaxy. The news from each location was both disturbing and fascinating. Human colonies were not only surviving, but advancing rapidly. Meanwhile, the archaeological evidence suggested that mass disappearances of advanced species had happened many times throughout galactic history. Dr. Carl Woods, a physicist who had been working with the Helix Collective Research Station, provided another piece of the puzzle. His message crackled through subspace with urgent excitement. "Lisa, I've been analyzing the quantum background radiation with collective instruments. There are patterns hidden in what we thought was random noise. Something has been systematically removing advanced civilizations from normal spacetime for millions of years." The implications were staggering. If Woods was right, then humanity's disappearance wasn't unique. It was part of a pattern that stretched back to the beginning of galactic civilization. But who or what had the power to move entire fleets between dimensions? And why? Captain Roy Davis reported another disturbing discovery. "I've been talking to the few human traders still operating independently. Everyone says the same thing. About a year ago, human ships started behaving differently. Crews reported strange dreams about leaving everything behind and joining something greater." Lisa felt pieces of a massive puzzle beginning to come together. The disappearance wasn't random or violent. It was organized, planned, and somehow connected. To humanity's rapid development as a spacefaring species. As night fell on the Pioneer, Lisa stood alone in her quarters, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Admiral Morrison and the entire Earth fleet were either dead or had been taken somewhere beyond normal space. The few humans left behind were discovering that their species might be part of something much larger and more ancient than anyone had imagined. The search for answers was just beginning, but already Lisa suspected that what they found would change everything they thought they knew about their place in the galaxy. Dr. Carl Woods had been working with the Helix Collective for 2 years, but he had never seen their quantum analysis equipment produce readings like this. The crystalline beings around him hummed with excitement as impossible patterns appeared. On their living computer displays, the background radiation contained structured information, Woods explained to his crystal-bodied colleagues. It's not random noise. Someone has been using quantum frequencies to communicate across dimensional barriers. Elder Zexamor's crystalline form flickered with bright colors of amazement. Dr. Woods, are you suggesting that your missing fleet is trying to send messages from another dimension? Not trying, succeeding. Look at these patterns. Woods pointed to the swirling data on the screen. They match human encryption methods, but the technology needed to broadcast across dimensional space is beyond anything we've ever built. Meanwhile, Lisa Grant was coordinating with every human survivor she could find across the galaxy. Her small network had grown to include 47 ships and outposts scattered across hundreds of light years. Each report painted the same strange picture. Captain Helen Brooks transmitted new information from the Tau Ceti colonies. Lisa, you need to hear this. I interviewed Dr. Jane Miller, the head of colonial research. She told me that 3 months ago, every human in the colonies had the same dream on the same night. What kind of dream? They saw Admiral Morrison and the fleet, but not in space. They were in some kind of vast structure, working alongside beings from other species. Miller said it felt more like a memory than a dream. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had made another breakthrough in the Vega system ruins. The ancient hieroglyphs were telling a story that seemed impossible, but matched everything they were discovering about the disappearances. Computer, display translation of stone tablet sequence 7 through 12, she commanded. The translation appeared on her screen. When a people reach the threshold of true understanding, the Watchers call them home. They pass through the barrier between worlds to join the great work. Some remain behind as guides for those who will follow the same path. Amy's hands shook as she read the words. The ancient civilization had described exactly what seemed to be happening to humanity. But who were these Watchers? And what was the great work? Jenny Walsh aboard the Pioneer made the discovery that changed everything. She had been analyzing the quantum communications that Dr. Woods detected, trying to decode any messages hidden in the strange signals. Commander Grant, she called excitedly. I found something in the quantum static. It's definitely human origin, but the encryption is nothing I've ever seen before. Lisa rushed to Jenny's station. Can you decode it? I've been trying for hours. The mathematics are incredible, like our encryption technology advanced by centuries. Overnight, but I think I got a fragment. Jenny's voice dropped to a whisper. It says, phase transition complete. Integration with advanced dimensional community proceeding as planned. Remaining units maintain observer status until next threshold. Cycle. A message was signed with Admiral Morrison's personal command code. Lisa felt her world spin. Morrison was alive, but he was somewhere else, in another dimension, and he was calling the remaining humans observer units. It sounded like their disappearance had been planned. Captain Roy Davis had been investigating supply records and found another piece of the puzzle. Commander Grant, I've been looking at requisition orders from the months before the fleet vanished. Earth Command was stockpiling unusual materials, Quantum processors, dimensional stabilizers, things that don't appear in any standard military equipment lists. Are you saying they knew this was going to happen? I'm saying they were preparing for it. The orders came from Admiral Morrison himself, with classification levels I've never seen before. The breakthrough came when Dr. Woods detected something new in his quantum analysis. The Helix Collective's most advanced sensors had found a signal that was definitely artificial, definitely powerful, and definitely not from any known species in the galaxy. It's old, Woods reported to Lisa during their daily communication. The signal has been broadcasting for millions of years, but it's so faint that you need crystalline quantum computers to detect it. The collective thinks it might be some kind of automated beacon. Lisa gathered her crew on the Pioneer's bridge. The weight of command had never felt heavier as she looked at their faces. 12 people who had signed up for a simple research mission were now uncovering secrets that went back to the beginning of galactic civilization. Jenny tried to get a fix on that beacon signal. Ben, I want you to analyze what we know about dimensional physics. Everyone else, prepare for the possibility that we're about to make contact with whatever took our fleet. The signal led them to an empty region of space between star systems. There was nothing there that normal sensors could detect. But Jenny's quantum equipment showed massive energy readings concentrated in a small area. It's like looking at a door that's painted to look like empty space, Jenny explained. Something huge is there, but it's hiding behind some kind of dimensional camouflage. As they approached the coordinates, the quantum signals grew stronger. Dr. Ben Parker's instruments detected space-time distortions that should have been impossible. The very fabric of reality was being manipulated by technology, beyond anything the current galactic community could imagine. Then the entity revealed itself. It didn't appear on their screens like a normal ship. Instead, it existed as a presence that their minds could barely understand. The being was ancient beyond measure, made of energy and consciousness rather than matter. When it spoke, the words appeared directly in their thoughts. Young humans, the voice said, gentle but carrying the weight of eons. I am the architect. I have been waiting to speak with the observers your species left behind. Lisa found her voice, though her heart was pounding. Are you responsible for taking our fleet? I am responsible for graduating your species to the next level of existence. Admiral Morrison and his people have joined the advanced dimensional phase, where they work alongside other evolved civilizations on projects that span galaxies. The architect explained what no species had ever been allowed to learn. When a civilization reached a certain point in their development, they were moved to a parallel dimension where they could advance without interfering with younger species. This prevented advanced races from dominating or accidentally destroying their less developed neighbors. Humanity reached the threshold faster than most species, the architect continued. Your problem-solving abilities, your tendency to inspire, cooperation in other races, your rapid technological advancement, all marked you for graduation. Dr. Parker managed to ask, but why leave some of us behind? Every graduated species leaves observers. You serve as bridges between the dimensions, preparing younger civilizations for their own eventual graduation. The Zephyrians have observers among them, though they don't know it. So do the Helix Collective and dozens of other species. Lisa realized the enormous responsibility that had been placed on the remaining humans. They weren't just survivors of a mysterious disappearance. They were guardians and guides for the entire galaxy. Admiral Morrison knew this was going to happen. He was contacted 6 months before the graduation. The choice was given to your species' leadership. They could refuse and remain in normal space, or accept advancement to the dimensional phase. The decision was unanimous. Humanity was ready to move forward. The architect showed them glimpses of the advanced dimension, vast structures that dwarfed entire star systems, where graduated species worked together on cosmic engineering projects. They were preparing defenses against threats that existed beyond the galaxy, solving problems that younger civilizations couldn't even imagine. Admiral Morrison has become one of our most valuable contributors, the architect said. Humanity's unique perspective has already led to breakthrough solutions in 3 major projects. Captain Helen Brooks had been listening to the conversation through the quantum link. Her voice came through clearly. What about the human colonies? Why are they advancing so quickly? When a species graduates, the remaining populations receive what you might call an inspiration boost. They work harder, think more clearly, and advance faster. It's preparation for their eventual reunion with the graduated portion of their species. Lisa looked around at her crew. Each face showed a mixture of wonder, fear, and determination. They had learned the truth about humanity's disappearance, but that knowledge came with an enormous burden. What happens to us now? She asked. That choice is yours to make, the architect replied. You can join your species in the advanced dimension immediately, or you can remain as observers and guides. But know this, the choice must be unanimous among all remaining human military personnel. It is a final test of the unity that marked your species for advancement. As the entity's presence faded, Lisa realized she was facing the most important decision in human history. The fate of not just the remaining humans, but potentially the entire galaxy's future development rested in their hands. The days following the architect's revelation were filled with urgent discussions across the scattered human survivors. Lisa Grant found herself at the center of debates that would shape the future of their species and possibly the entire galaxy. Captain Tony Miller had been exploring gravitational mysteries near the galactic core when he received the quantum transmission about the architect. His research ship Explorer had been studying strange space distortions for months, never knowing he was actually detecting traces of the ancient entity's presence. Commander Grant, Miller's voice crackled through the long-range communication system. I've been in direct contact with the architect for the past 6 hours. What it's shown me changes everything we thought we knew about the universe. Lisa leaned forward in her command chair. What did you learn, Tony? The advanced dimension isn't just a hiding place for graduated species. It's a workshop. They're building something massive, defenses against threats that come from outside. Our galaxy. The architect showed me images of entire star systems being converted into weapons and shields. Dr. Ben Parker looked up from his station with wide eyes. Threats from outside the galaxy? What kind of threats? Miller's voice became serious. There are things in the deep void between galaxies that make our worst nightmares look like children's stories. Ancient machines left over from civilizations that died billions of years ago. They move from galaxy to galaxy, consuming everything in their path. The architect calls them the Devourers. The revelation sent chills through everyone on the Pioneer's Bridge. Lisa had thought the choice facing humanity was simple: join their graduated species or stay behind as guides. Now she realized the stakes were much higher. How long do we have? She asked. According to the architect, the Devourers won't reach our galaxy for another 1,000 years. But the graduated species have been preparing for them for millions of years. Every new civilization that joins the advanced dimension adds new ideas and capabilities to the defense effort. Captain Helen Brooks transmitted from the Tau Ceti system with more disturbing news. Lisa, I've been talking to the colonial administrators again. They're not just advancing technologically, they're developing abilities that seem impossible. Some colonists are reporting telepathic connections with each other. Others are demonstrating an intuitive understanding of physics that takes decades to learn normally. Are you saying the colonists are becoming superhuman? I'm saying they're becoming whatever humans need to become to survive in the advanced dimension. The architect's inspiration boost isn't just making them smarter, it's preparing them for evolutionary changes. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had made another breakthrough in her archaeological studies. The ancient ruins in the Vega system contained detailed records of what happened to species after they graduated to the advanced dimension. The civilizations that joined the great work didn't lose their identity, she reported to the group. If anything, they became more themselves. The species that built these ruins wrote about how graduation allowed them to fully express their unique gifts. For them, it was becoming master builders who could reshape matter at the atomic level. Lisa was beginning to understand the true scope of what the architect offered. Graduation wasn't just about advancing to a higher dimension. It was about becoming the best possible version of what humanity could be. But the choice still weighed heavily on her mind. Dr. Carl Woods provided more information that made the decision even more complex. Lisa, the Helix Collective has shared their historical records with me. Every species that graduated left behind observers. But humanity is the first species where the observers were given a choice about their role. What do you mean? Usually the architect selects specific individuals to remain behind as guides. They don't get to choose, and they don't know the full truth about what happened to their species. We're the first observers who have been told everything and given the power to decide our own fate. The weight of that responsibility was crushing. Lisa realized that their decision would set a precedent for how future graduated species handled the observer role. Captain Roy Davis had been investigating the human colonies' rapid advancement and made a disturbing discovery. Commander, I've analyzed the progress reports from 15 different colony worlds. They're all advancing in the same direction, toward technologies that could support dimensional travel and cosmic engineering. Is that good or bad? It means the colonies are unconsciously preparing to rejoin the graduated fleet. If we choose to remain as observers, we might be the only humans left in normal space within a generation or two. The architect appeared to Lisa again 3 days later, manifesting as a gentle presence in her quarters while she was alone. The ancient entity seemed to understand the difficulty of the choice facing humanity. You are troubled by the decision, the architect observed. Wouldn't you be? Lisa replied. We're not just choosing our own fate. We're choosing whether humanity maintains a presence in normal space or abandons the younger species entirely. Tell me what troubles you most. Lisa stood and looked out at the stars through her small porthole. Admiral Morrison and the fleet made their choice based on information we're only now learning. They didn't know about the Devourers, about the cosmic threats, about the true scope of what they were joining. How can we make a decision without all the facts? The architect's presence became warmer, almost fatherly. You have asked the right question. Let me show you what your Admiral Morrison is doing now. Suddenly, Lisa's mind was filled with images from the advanced dimension. She saw Morrison standing on a platform that floated in space between two massive stars. Around him, beings from dozens of species worked together on a construction project that dwarfed entire solar systems. Morrison looked older, but more alive than she had ever seen him. His eyes held wisdom and purpose that seemed to glow with inner light. He was directing the construction of a barrier system that would protect not just their galaxy, but 3 neighboring galaxies from the approaching Devourers. Lisa, Morrison's voice spoke directly to her mind. I know you're watching. I want you to know that what we're doing here isn't just about survival. We're building a future where every species can grow and flourish without fear. The choice we made was the right one. The vision expanded to show her human engineers working alongside crystalline beings, insectoid mathematicians, and energy creatures she couldn't even comprehend. They were solving problems that would have taken normal science centuries to understand. Your species has contributed innovations that have accelerated our defensive preparations by thousands of years, the architect explained. Humanity's ability to find unexpected solutions to impossible problems has proven invaluable. But then the architect showed her something else. In the advanced dimension, there were spaces set aside as memorials to the younger species still developing in normal space. The graduated civilizations remembered their origins and felt a deep connection to those they had left behind. Every graduated species maintains observers not out of obligation, but out of love, the architect said. They remember what it was like to struggle and grow, and they want to help others along the same path. Lisa understood now why the choice had to be unanimous among the military personnel. It wasn't just about individual preference, it was about whether humanity would maintain its connection to its origins or fully embrace its cosmic destiny. The architect left her with one final thought. Your Admiral Morrison requests that whatever choice you make, you know that the graduated humans will always consider the observers to be the heart of their species. You are the keepers of humanity's story, the guardians of its compassion. Lisa called for an emergency meeting of all remaining human military personnel. Through quantum communication links, 43 people from across the galaxy joined the discussion that would determine humanity's future role in the universe. The debate that followed would be remembered as one of the most important conversations in human history. The quantum communication network buzzed with voices from across the galaxy as 43 human military officers prepared to make the most important decision in their species' history. Lisa Grant looked at the faces on her screen. Captains, commanders, doctors, and engineers scattered across hundreds of light years, all connected by the weight of their shared responsibility. Before we begin, Lisa said, her voice steady despite the enormous pressure, I want everyone to understand what we're really choosing. This isn't just about our own futures. The architect has made it clear that our decision will set a precedent for every species that graduates after us. Captain Tony Miller spoke first from his position near the galactic core. I've seen what our people are building in the advanced dimension. The scope is incredible. They're creating defenses that will protect billions of civilizations from threats we can barely imagine. How can we turn our backs on that? Dr. Ben Parker shook his head from his station on the Pioneer. But if we all go, who will guide the younger species? The Zephyrians are already struggling with political instability since our fleet disappeared. The Montari colonies are facing economic collapse without our trade partnerships. We have responsibilities here. Captain Helen Brooks transmitted from the Tau Ceti system with a different perspective. I've been watching the human colonies, and I think we're missing something important. The colonists aren't just advancing. They're becoming more compassionate, more cooperative. The evolutionary changes aren't just making them smarter, they're making them better. Captain Roy Davis raised his hand to speak. That's exactly what worries me. If the colonies are evolving beyond normal humanity, and the graduated fleet is working on cosmic projects, what happens to the humans who choose to stay behind? Do we become a dying branch of our own species? The debate continued for hours. Some argued that humanity's destiny lay with the graduated fleet, working alongside other advanced species to protect the galaxy. Others insisted that their duty was to remain as guides and protectors for the civilizations still struggling to reach the threshold. Dr. Amy Rodriguez provided historical context from her archaeological research. Every species faces this same choice, but the architect told Lisa that we're the first to have full knowledge of what graduation means. That's not an accident. It's a test. Are we wise enough to make the right decision with complete information? Lieutenant Pete Jackson, who had been quiet throughout most of the discussion, finally spoke up. What if we're thinking about this wrong? The architect said the choice has to be unanimous. But what if that's not, because we all have to choose? The same thing? Lisa frowned. What do you mean? What if unanimous means we all agree that splitting up is the right choice? Half go to join the graduated fleet, half stay as observers. That way, humanity maintains its presence in both dimensions. The suggestion created a storm of discussion. Captain Miller argued that dividing their already small numbers would weaken both groups. Dr. Parker worried that split loyalties would make them less effective as observers. But Captain Brooks saw possibilities in the idea. "Think about it," Brooks said. "The architect showed us that graduated species feel a deep connection to their origins. If some of us join the advanced dimension, they could serve as a bridge between the graduated humans and those who remain behind." Lisa felt a strange certainty settling in her mind. "Jenny, can you establish a direct communication link with the architect?" Jenny Walsh worked at her station for several minutes before nodding. "Connection established, Commander." The ancient entity's presence filled the communication network, touching every human mind simultaneously. Its voice carried the weight of cosmic ages, but somehow felt gentle and paternal. "Young humans," the architect said, "I sense you have reached a decision." Lisa took a deep breath. "We want to ask you something first. You said our choice must be unanimous, and we've been assuming that means we all have to choose the same thing. But what if we unanimously choose to divide ourselves, some joining the graduated fleet, others remaining as observers?" The architect was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something like surprise in its ancient voice. "In 10 million years of overseeing graduations, no species has ever asked that question. Does that mean it's not allowed?" "It means you have surprised me, which I did not think was possible." The requirement for unanimity was designed to test whether a species had achieved true unity of purpose. "You have shown something beyond unity. You have shown wisdom." The architect explained that every graduated species had regretted the complete separation from their origins. The observers left behind eventually lost contact with their graduated counterparts, creating a permanent divide that caused pain for both groups. "Your proposal would solve a problem that has existed since the first graduation," the architect continued. "A permanent bridge between dimensions, maintained by a species that chose cooperation over separation." Lisa felt the rightness of the decision settling over the entire network. One by one, the human officers voiced their agreement. The vote was indeed unanimous. Humanity would split its presence between dimensions, ensuring that no future species would have to face the transition. Alone. The selection process took 3 days. 22 officers chose to join Admiral Morrison and the graduated fleet in the advanced dimension. 21, including Lisa, chose to remain as observers and guides in normal space. As the dimensional gateway opened, Lisa stood on the bridge of the Pioneer, watching as half of her fellow humans prepared to step into a new phase of existence. Captain Miller, Dr. Woods, and 20 others gathered at the transfer point, their faces filled with excitement and purpose. "Remember us," Lisa said to them. Captain Miller smiled. "How could we forget? You're going to be the most important humans in the galaxy." The transfer was beautiful and heartbreaking. One moment her friends were there, solid and familiar. The next, they had become something more, still recognizably human, but enhanced beyond normal limitations. Through the dimensional barrier, she could see Admiral Morrison waiting to welcome them. Morrison looked directly at Lisa through the barrier and mouthed the words, "Thank you." The remaining humans spread throughout the galaxy, taking on new roles as teachers, protectors, and secret guardians. Lisa established communication protocols with the graduated humans, creating the first permanent bridge between dimensional phases in galactic history. Captain Brooks settled in the Tau Ceti system to guide the human colonies through their evolutionary changes. Captain Davis became a liaison with the Zephyrian military, sharing tactical knowledge while secretly preparing them for their own eventual graduation. Dr. Rodriguez continued her archaeological work, now with the knowledge to properly interpret the ruins of graduated civilizations. The galaxy never learned the full truth of what happened to Earth's fleet, But the remaining humans made sure that every species felt supported and guided toward their own threshold. The mysterious disappearance became a legend that inspired younger civilizations to reach for advancement, never knowing that humanity was quietly helping them along the path. Years passed, and the human colonies evolved rapidly under the guidance of their observers. The bridge between dimensions allowed for a flow of knowledge and inspiration that benefited both phases of humanity. The graduated humans shared cosmic insights that helped solve galactic problems, while the observers provided emotional grounding and perspective that kept the advanced humans connected to their origins. Lisa, now in her 50s, stood in the command center of a new type of ship park research vessel, part diplomatic platform, part secret guardian post. Around her, humans and aliens worked together on projects that seemed impossible just years before. The choice humanity made had rippled throughout the galaxy. Other species began to hope that their own graduation, when it came, would not mean abandoning those left behind. The architect had begun offering similar choices to species approaching their threshold, ending millions of years of painful separation in the advanced dimension. Admiral Morrison and the graduated humans worked on cosmic defenses while maintaining constant contact with their observer counterparts. The bridge between phases had made both groups stronger and more effective. The disappearance of Earth's fleet had become the beginning of a new era in galactic civilization, one where advancement meant lifting others up rather than leaving them behind. Humanity had chosen compassion over personal glory, and in doing so, had shown the galaxy a better way forward. The observers watched over their adopted family of species, knowing that someday every one of them would face the same choice humanity had faced. And when that day came, no species would have to face it alone.